Hello and welcome to the Welsh Premiership podcast. I'm your host, Adam Cleary, and today I'm joined by Tobias Hunt. We'll be taking a look back at last week's Boxing Day fixtures and taking a look ahead to the weekend. Looking back at last week's fixtures, Bridgend, Aberavon, obviously you're a Bridgend boy. What do you think of the game?
It was a good game. To be completely honest with you, it was nice to see Bridgend compete with Aberavon, which is something we haven't seen this season and maybe the end of last season as well. Obviously, Aberavon come away with the win eventually, 18-15, a late try, sealed the win. But to be honest, you got to give Bridgend a lot of credit for the way they performed, especially up front. The pack was outstanding. The likes of Collier, Gareth Harvey put great shifts in, and to push Aberavon all the way, which is a side who haven't done much wrong all year, who are demolishing teams up front. So it'll be a performance Bridgend are proud of, can build on. But then on the other hand, for Aberavon, it's another win. Obviously, no bonus point, but it keeps them in good stead, ready for the top four.
Yeah, and like you said, Bridgend, they haven't always got the results this season, have they? But a result like that will give them massive confidence, even though they didn't quite get the win. And, they'll be looking to take that into this weekend against Carmarthen Quins. Obviously Boxing Day, probably the best, round of fixtures in the league, isn't it? All local derbies. And we saw that down at the Arms Park, Cardiff hosting Pontypridd. I think Ponty, they were well in the game for 50 minutes. I think it was 2 points in it with half an hour left, but then Cardiff pulled away. And I just think, they're so high on confidence. Ponty struggled a bit this season, and Cardiff probably made the most of that and pulled away. And I think the scoreline probably flatters them a little bit. Speaking to some of the Ponty players, whatever, they thought they were in that game with half an hour left, and they just sort of got away from them at the end. But I think Ponty could take confidence from that, and take it into this weekend against Llandovery.
Yeah, and to me, I think Ponty is side who have improved as the season have gone on. Obviously the result is that it looks like there's a lot more in it than it actually was. But it's just the quality I think eventually paid off for Cardiff in that last 20 minutes, half hour. There's a couple of Derry Cross score some nice few tries, and a player of his quality is hard to stop on any day, let alone when you've competed physically with a big Cardiff pack for a good 50, 60 minutes. So it's a good showing from Ponty, but then Cardiff again just showing the quality and why they were champions last year, and obviously on the way to nearing that again.
Yeah, and another local derby up at Ebbw Vale hosting Newport. Really tight game. Newport, they haven't quite hit the heights of last season, have they? But they're still a really good side, and on their day, they can beat anyone. So that's a brilliant result for Ebbw Vale, isn't it? Grinding that 22-18 victory out. And they're a team that have massively improved this season. They really struggled last year, and this season, they're one of the better teams in the league, aren't they?
Yeah, and we was talking about them last year, the start of last year, saying discipline and things like that cost them. And obviously then Jason Strange come in and took over there. And they still struggled, I think, towards the end of last year. But to be completely honest, the recruitment they've done there is outstanding. They've brought in a lot of local boys, maybe not played at this level, but boys will maybe buy into to what they've already got there and like the camaraderie and stuff in the squad. And I think that showed off, doing the double over Newport, who were one of the top teams last year, nearly did the double until the last few weeks. To do that against a team like Newport, and we know the quality of Tyrone Morris as well, it's outstanding. And he said the likes of the halfbacks for the Everville, have been outstanding this year. Jonathan Evans, M Lloyd, and then you've got the youngsters as well. We've been impressed with Dylan Bartlett in the second row. Morgan Richards, Carrick McDonald's got a good few tries each as well out wide. So they're a good side and they're pushing for that top four as well this year.
Yeah, and over at Churchbank, Llandovery recorded a comfortable 29-0 victory over the Carmarthen Quins. It's just not happening for the Quins this season, is it? They're really struggling. That 82-0 loss at Cardiff the week before just sums it up, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, they are a side in trouble. To be nilled twice now in the last 2 weeks against two, top oppositions in the league in Cardiff and the Drovers. But against Llandovery, it's a bit of a derby. Players be more up for it. So to be nil, they'll be disappointed with. And they might be just lucky there's no relegation this year. Obviously, they're down there, I think, with Bridgend level on points, but Bridgend do have 3 games in hand on them. So Quins will want to get back into shape quickly now this weekend. But again, for Llandovery, I think they're 10 points behind Cardiff now with 2 games in hand on them. So, they're pushing, and Llandovery could even top this league the way they're going, and they're going along quietly. There's not many people I see talking about them, really.
Yeah, and obviously there's no shame in losing, 29-0 away to Llandovery. They're a quality team, aren't they? But where do you think it's gone wrong for Carmarthen Quins this season? Because they haven't lost too many players. Obviously, they got a new head coach coming in, Mark Jones. But where do you think it's gone wrong for them?
So it's hard to pinpoint an exact place. I think, if we look at their side, there's a lot of players who was there the season before, a couple of the seasons before. But maybe there's one or two experienced heads that have dropped out and are not playing so regular. But again, we've seen a lot of this year now with the youngsters that come down from the regional sides. Like say with Llanelli now do have majority of the Scarlets boys, and Carmarthen obviously they have one or two, but maybe not as many as they'd like or they used to have. And then a bit of inconsistency maybe as well in the lineup. There's a few changes every week. I just don't think that Mark Jones quite knows yet what his best side is.
Mm. Yeah, and would you say this season perhaps is a sort of transition season for the Quins? Like new head coach, no relegation. They've had a few decent seasons. Obviously, last year that they had that really good win away to Cardiff in the league, and then this year they've lost 82-0. So do you think this season's just about trying to find his best team, and then next season they can really kick on when he knows his best 15 and try and move up the table?
Yeah, definitely, because we've always known Quins as a sort of mid-table-ish side that they're never really down there at the bottom with the other sort of teams. So obviously the new head coach coming in, and they know there's no relegation as there is. It's a chance to maybe bring more local boys in, develop them ready for Premiership standard and playing a lot of Premiership rugby for next year, where hopefully they'll kick on to better things.
Yeah, and as for Llandovery, you're right in what you said. They are going under the radar a bit, aren't they? They're only 10 points behind Cardiff with 2 games in hand. I think 1 or 2 points behind Aberavon, and they got 2 games in hand over them as well. So, they'll be looking at a top two finish and a home semi-final.
Oh, and I can definitely see it happening. The way they're playing, and whoever they play against, they try and play the same style of rugby, no matter if they play a team at the bottom or a team at the top, and it works for them. They've got a really settled squad there. I feel, you can put majority of that 23 will be in there every week or there or thereabouts. I said Ariel Sands has been there a good few years now, and he's been in charge, and they play some excellent rugby. So they're going under the radar, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were a top two side come the end of the season.
Yeah, and over at St Helens then, Swansea recorded a 34-23 victory over Llanelli, picking up the bonus point. Um, I was at the game, a bit of a strange game to be honest. It was 13-all with about 20 minutes left. Llanelli had a man yellow carded, and Swansea really made advantage of that. Scored 3 tries, picked up the bonus point, and yeah, got 5 points under their belt. So yeah, what do you think of that?
Yeah, well, going into the game, I think everyone probably thought the Swansea would come out winners. But from your point of view, like, how did Llanelli perform? Because we've seen them this year, they have improved quite a bit. And against the Swansea side, who had a good few boys drop in from the Ospreys as well, like Kai Evans, boys that have played a lot of first team rugby. So how did Llanelli look on the weekend?
They looked really impressive to be fair. They had a few Scarlets boys dropping down, the two centres, Joe Roberts, Corey Baldwin, Dan Davis in the back row. Obviously they made a big difference. But no, they look a really competitive team, well coached, and we've seen it this season, haven't we? They've picked up wins away to Ponty, first game of the season, bonus point win against Swansea, and they've come on leaps and bounds this season. At the start we were we're tipping them to finish bottom again, weren't we? I think they only won once last season in both the league and cup. So they've massively improved, and to go away to a Swansea team with that many Ospreys players, quality, well, quality 23 really, and to be that competitive, I think they can be proud of that. And as for Swansea, when they've got that team out, you could probably argue they'd give most teams in the league a run for their money, wouldn't they? They've struggled in recent weeks, with the Ospreys boys being away in South Africa, and not just that as well. They're missing some of their most experienced players like John Fox, James Davis, Matt Dodd have all been missing, and they've had to call a lot of players in on permit. I think that Cardiff away game when they lost 45-0, I think they had like 7 or 8 boys in on permit. You're always going to struggle then, aren't you? But when Swansea can field a team like they did last week, they can give anyone a run for their money, I think.
And obviously then the day after, Merthyr travelled up to Park Areas to play RGC, which obviously I think conditions played a big part in the result of that. Merthyr eventually come out on top, scoring a few late tries. What did you make of that game?
Yeah, two really good teams to be fair, and two teams that'll be in the playoff mix. I think we sort of wrote off Merthyr a little bit at the start of the season. Roland Phillips came in, they started poorly, didn't they? But we've seen it time and again, time and again. When a new coach comes in, it takes a few weeks or a few months, to put his stamp on things and to get the team playing the way he wants them to play. We saw it last season with Ebbw Vale, with Jason Strange coming in, and now we're seeing the results. So fair play to Merthyr. They've really turned it around and they look a really impressive side. RGC as well. Kerry Jones. Remember first game of last season? I think they conceded like 60 odd points to Cardiff, didn't they? And now they're one of the most competitive teams in the league. So disappointing result to lose at home up there in front of a big crowd. But Merthyr are one of the better teams in the league, aren't they? And I think both teams will be up there towards the end of the season.
Yeah, and I think Merthyr are one of those sides who just know how to grind out the win. In tough conditions. They got a big solid pack. The Craig Lock, the experience of that type of player just helps them maybe get over the line and get that edge up front. I feel. But credit to RGC, they were in control for probably about 60 minutes of that game. And they still played the rugby they like to play. They still try to throw the ball wide. They scored some lovely tries from it as well. So, there's two sides who, like we said, I think will be pushing that top four there or thereabouts.
Yeah, and looking ahead to this weekend now, uh, all 12 teams in action. Starting off Thursday night, Llanelli hosting Ebbw Vale. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, on form, I don't think you can write off Ebbw Vale, to be completely honest with you. We've seen the Llanelli teams come out this afternoon, and it's a solid side with one or two boys coming into it. But the way Ebbw were playing and the form they're in, I can see Ebbw Vale coming away with a decent victory there.
Yeah, I'd have to agree as well. We've seen the Llanelli team today. It's strong, but it's not as strong as it has been in recent weeks. It's nowhere near as strong as the team that played Swansea on Boxing Day. Ebbw Vale, form team, well, one of the form teams in the league at the moment. So yeah, you'd have to tip them, wouldn't you? And then on to Saturday, Swansea making the short trip over to Aberavon. How do you see that one going?
I think, we've already mentioned it, maybe a lot depends on the team selection from Swansea's point of view. But Abraham will be looking to improve on the Boxing Day results against Bridgend. Obviously, they come away with a win, but it wasn't the result they would have wanted. But I think Swansea know they can challenge Abraham. So I think Swansea will be in the game for 60 odd minutes, but I think maybe Abraham's just power up front may just edge it towards the last 10, 15.
Yeah, and if Swansea can field a side like they did on Boxing Day, then there's probably no reason why they can't go there and win. But it all depends on who's playing, doesn't it? As for Aberavon, I think no disrespect to Bridgend, but we were a little bit surprised at how close that was. I think I expected, Aberavon to go there and pick up the 5 points quite comfortably. So yeah, they'll be looking to put a big performance in. They're second in the league. So I think I'd tip Aberavon, but I wouldn't be surprised if Swansea, were really competitive and, stayed in the game. Another intriguing fixture over at the park in Carmarthen. Carmarthen Quins hosting Bridgend. The two bottom teams in the league facing off. Who do you see coming out on top?
I'll be honest here, this game could go either way, I think. I can see it being quite a low scoring, niggly affair. Two sides know they're down at the bottom and they'll be doing all they can just to gain that edge over the other. Maybe on form in the past few results, you probably just edge it towards Bridgend, but away from home, up in Command and do make it hard, to go up there and play some nice rugby. So I think it'll be a tight affair and it could go either way.
Yeah, obviously Carmarthen have had some poor results recently, so they'll be seeing this game as the game that could perhaps turn their season around. Obviously, they're a lot better at home than they are away. Bridgend, I think they'll also Bridgend will be targeting it, won't they? They're going away to the team bottom of the league, so they'll be looking at that as a game where they can win and hopefully pull away from the bottom. I think I'd probably tip Bridgend, but it'd be a really close game, and I wouldn't be surprised if it goes either way. And then at Merthyr, tough game for them hosting Cardiff, the reigning champions. Probably say champions elect. I would be surprised if someone stops them this season. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, like you said, you can't really look past Cardiff the way they've played the last two seasons. But I always find when Cardiff go up to Merthyr, we see some cracking games. It's two sides who will just try and score as many tries as they can, really. But I think Merthyr maybe, they'll be in the game for the first 40, 50, but as I said, the quality in that Cardiff side and, some of the backs they have and some of the finishing we've seen already from this season, I think Cardiff will be too strong for them.
Yeah, I agree. I'd probably say Cardiff picking up the 4 points and maybe Merthyr picking up a losing bonus point in that one. And then down to Newport, another big game there. Newport hosting RGC. Two teams who on their day, could beat anyone in the league, can't they? So how do you see that one going?
I think this will be a very tight affair. RGC, the team who probably spoilt Newport's season last year, stopping them from winning the league, going to Newport and getting that result. So Newport will be looking at it as a bit of a revenge game now against RGC to get back at them for what they did last year. But it's not maybe the same Newport side have seen before. So, RGC will be coming back disappointed from their game. Newport also be disappointed from losing Taboo. I think again, this could go either way. I'd probably slightly edge towards Newport, but then it wouldn't shock me if RGC, turned up and picked up the 4 points.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. Both teams coming off the back of Boxing Day defeat. Like you said, RGC probably stopped Newport from winning the league last year, didn't they? On that Thursday night live on S4C. Yeah, I think Newport will be well up for it at home. They get good crowds down at Spitty Park. I'd probably tip Newport, but like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if RGC nick it either. And then finally, Pontypridd hosting Llandovery at Sardis Road. It's been a disappointing season for Ponty. Obviously, they've done well in the cup with that win away to Aberavon, taking them through to the semis. But how do you see this one going?
Yeah, Ponty are probably the most inconsistent side in the league at the minute. You see a brilliant result and a brilliant game from them, matched by maybe and the par performance. But the way the Drovers are going, I can see them turning up, getting the 4 points, and just hopping on the bus back home. This is the type of side they are. They go there, they do what they got to do, and I think they'll be happy with the performance and they look forward to next week.
It's two teams with sort of different styles of playing, isn't it? Ponty, such a forward orientated team, score a lot of tries from scrums, mauls, and then Llandovery love to chuck the ball about. So I think that 4G pitch at Sardis will probably help Llandovery more than it'll help Ponty. And I think it'll be a close game, but I think Llandovery will just come out on top and get that win that will keep the pressure on Cardiff and Aberavon. That's it for today's episode. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll be back in a few weeks to discuss the latest fixtures and take a look at the league table. Cheers.